Hey YouTube, it's Adriel, the hunting gear guy. I wanted to show you guys this Savage B.Mag. When I got my Savage, I think it's a BVTS in 17 HMR, my buddy got this 17 Winchester Super Mag. He uses a brand new as in a year or two ago, cartridge. It's rimfire, and it's the fastest rimfire out there, which, I mean, it's a real peppy little round. I'm just zooming you in on that round just so you can kind of see what the difference is there. Let's get right in and just wait for us to focus there. So there's the Super Mag, there's HMR, and there's 22. This is a little bit hard to show on video, so if you want to see some really good shots of this, just check out my website. I'll have a real nice product photo. But suffice to say, you know, just holding the two in my hand, it's very clear that the 17 WSM, which you'd think would be Winchester Short Mag, but it's actually Super Mag, which is kind of funny. It's a lot wider. It's got a lot more powder in it. It's a little bit taller, but mostly it's just a wider case. This is based off of a 270 nail blank, actually, a nail firing blank. So they've necked it down to 17, and it's got a lot of power. Now, the really cool thing about using that 270 nail blank is that this stuff's cheap. You know, I got this at a local shop, so this wasn't the cheapest, but at Cabela's, these are going for anywhere around 15 to 17 bucks. This one was 19, as I said. It was a little bit expensive because I got it at a local shop rather than a wholesaler or a larger place. But that's as cheap as 17 HMR. And for that, you're getting a round that's going, you know, quite a bit faster and quite a bit flatter. So it's almost like upgrading for free, which, you know, was what I thought was really cool about this round is, yeah, you know, you're getting into a bigger round and you're not really paying for it because the rounds are just as cheap. I assume that Winchester is able to do that because they already have a lot of the tooling, a lot of the machinery for it in bulk, whereas 17 HMR, that stuff is still product of demand right now. 22 is still really hard to find. 17 HMR is still not in the best supply, so I'm assuming that Winchester's made a decision to sell the stuff for a little bit cheaper and kind of reactivate one of their other lines, maybe. And again, that's just pure speculation, but I like to speculate. Onto this rifle, just to make it real short, you know, I think this is, there's some things about this rifle that could have been really cool, but a lot of it seems to be maybe a little bit poorly executed. You know, taking a look even at this bolt here, you see this, it's got this like cool line on the back here, but even that, it's kind of hard to get in here to grab that safety. It's this thing is, this whatever this shroud is getting in the way of that. So yeah, it looks cool. Maybe it's providing some function. This bolt here, it's raised away from the stock. Let's see how good of a shot I can get of that. It's away from the stock, which makes it kind of easy to grab. It's also hollow. But the way that it's designed, the way that it kind of loops out from the stock here, when it pops up, it's actually, I'll show you in this other scope here, it's close even on high rings. I've got some high rings that I'm using to fit a scope with a 50mm objective, and this thing is still getting in the way. Kind of interesting, right? So, you know, if you get one of these things, make sure you test for scope fit, because it might not fit your scope. Oh, where do I want to start? One thing I really liked, this AccuTrigger is fantastic. I'm a big fan of the AccuTrigger. I mean, there's some things that Savage innovates on, and Savage is really excellent at innovating on, and I think the AccuTrigger is by far and away like one of their biggest wins. All the other big manufacturers are copying it now. Ruger, Remington, Marlin, they've all got a version or a play on this AccuTrigger now, and you can see why, you know. You can, I'm just checking to make sure that there's nothing in the chamber. I already checked previous, but I like to check anyways. You can see why, because you know, just to have a trigger that was 2 pounds, someone could drop it, the rifle could go off, but having that lever in there makes it so that they can have a very light, nice trigger. So I like the trigger. It's, you know, just comparing it back and forth with the BVTS, that other Savage 17 HMR that I'm using, I would give the nod to this one just a little bit. It's a little bit lighter. It does have just a touch of creep to it, just a little bit, but I ain't complaining. You know, for a factory trigger, it's pretty good. Keep in mind, this is a low-cost rifle. Moving on, this magazine, this is a rotary magazine, which is a kind of a departure from how Savage has done their rim fires and even their center fires, because I don't know that they have another that has a rotary, but this rotary is actually very nice to insert and take out of this stock. So it looks, you know, this is all plastic on the bottom. That looks kind of crappy. No action screws, you see that? Yeah, that's kind of cool. This thing comes in and out of the mag well very nicely. It's got a metal back, plastic forward. I don't really like it loading it all that much. Maybe I'm spoiled with regular mags, but with this one, kind of what you have to do is use this circular part and kind of like lever in from the side to get this thing to rotate a little bit over so that the bullet will fit in there. And then you can pop it in. And when you put rounds in on top of this, I'm just going to use this 17 HMR just to show, you kind of have to push on the edge here to force that other round to go over to the side so that you can fit your next one in. It's not, I don't know, it's not a deal breaker, but I think it could be just a little bit nicer. The cool thing about this rotary mag, 8 rounds. 8 rounds in a rotary mag that fits flush on what is overall a really slim rifle package. A little bit fatter here on the forend, but you don't feel it, sorry, not on the forend, or on the action, but you don't feel it where the forend is over here. And that's the next thing I wanted to talk about. I think in part some of the things that I think Savage is trying to do, like what Browning did with their T-bolt with this. Browning's T-bolt is incredibly slim, and when you hold the rifle you can feel it. But what Browning did with their T-bolt stock is that they made it solid. So even though it was really slim and really comfortable to hold in your hand, it was stiff, and that's not what Savage did. Again, keep in mind, this is done to a price point. That Browning is $750. This is it 300? I'm gonna have to append an annotation on this, but this is an inexpensive rifle that they're trying to match all these features and looks of these better rifles. This stock, I don't like it all that much. It's got a little bit of play to it. Up and down isn't bad. I'm gonna have to crack this thing open and take some pictures just to show you guys side to side. You can clearly see I am hitting the stock here. So if you had this thing on a bipod, you were in a field or something like that, and you had to cant it a little bit to make the shot kind of thing, you will be touching your barrel against your stock. So as much as the stock feels great and looks all right, you know, my buddy that got this, he's already looking at getting the Boyd's gun stock to replace the just the factory plastic stock, and that's all right. You know, let's look at this rifle for everything else except the stock, and just pretend that, you know, you're gonna roll in the cost of getting a Boyd stock with it. So we talked about the safety. It's hard to get to. Other than that, I mean, it works just the same as everything else. It's nice and smooth, nice and clicky. We've got a couple of weaver mounts here on the top. Perfect, no rail garbage like you've heard on any of my other rimfire rifle reviews. I hate those 3/8 dovetail. The barrel is very, very thin, but it works fine. You know what? I did an 8-round group with this thing, and the barrel was just starting to get warm to the touch. So you can see there that, yeah, it's a skinny barrel, but it's also a little bullet. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the barrel. If you want to really blast away with something like this, they do have a heavy barrel stainless version. So that one's got a much heavier barrel. Which brings us on to the action and the bolt. And if you've looked at other reviews on this, you know, lots of people have said it's kind of cheap or chintzy, and it is. It feels cheap and chintzy when you use it. It's very light. And one of the differences here is that it's a cock on closing. So when you close the bolt, you're actually cocking the action there, as well as rotating those bolt lugs into the recesses. By the way, this is a rear lugged, so we've got the lugs right there, and they just grab onto the receiver right there. You know, a center fire will grab up here. With rim fires, though, typically the bolt is actually, or the lugs are actually the bolt, or one or two that are kind of near the rear here. That's normal. What's not normal is how flimsy and flaky this bolt is. You can actually rotate it free of the bolt body, which if you're kind of mashing it in and you don't really know where you are, you can actually get it to come down a little bit early, which I have done. I did that on this rifle, and I think I even have some video of it. So that is different than a lot of the rimfires out there. I'm gonna grease this thing, but it was just a little bit kind of shaky going in and out. There's a little bit of play with this bolt when it's at the top, and again, with a real tight scope on this, you will mash your fingers. That I kind of disliked. One of the cool things about the bolt system, and again, I think this is Savage trying to do non-Savage things, is this bolt release is kind of cool. So we've got just a standard bolt release, just like every other, at least a lot of other rimfires out there. That's cool. What else do I want to say about this bolt? Oh yeah, and if you look at my review, you'll see a picture of this, but you see those feed lips on the lips on the back of the magazine. As you're extracting the last round, with every other round, they're kind of pushing up on the round being extracted. But on the last one, I had this happen to me 2 times out of a box of 50 rounds, so frequently enough. That last round just kind of got caught on the lips here and was just laying there. It didn't eject properly. It extracted, it just didn't eject. That's not a really big deal. You can always just drop your mag and you'll drop that last round out. It was just, I just wanted to point that out. The bolt itself looks a little bit like a centerfire bolt. We've got a much more standard, what the heck? Why can't I think here? It's kind of cool. A little bit complicated looking, and from the amount of factory grease that they threw on the back here, I'm guessing this is where the friction is going to come from. So if you do have one of these, you may need to grease it at the back here. That's probably the cock on close. That's why it's greased like that. And it is because you know, it does take some force to pull this thing down. Here, I'll zoom us back out again here. When you're pushing this thing down, it's hard. There isn't even a round in there. That's an empty chamber, and it's hard to rotate that thing in there. Advantage being it is a little bit easier to pop it open, I guess, because you're not cocking on opening like a lot of other rifles like that. Early days on this rifle, so I am going to leave my opinion yet TBD. You know, at first I think, you know, there's some cool concepts in here. I don't really love the rifle as it is, just because there are some flaws in there. The bolt is the biggest flaw, you know, I would throw another stock on here and not worry about it. But with this bolt being so kind of hinky, I don't know, I just don't like it. I wish it were better, but anyways, I'm gonna leave my opinion yet to be determined, and changeable upon using this thing in the field. I did go shoot some groups with it. Let me pull those out. Wow, how did I not get to the groups yet? That's so weird. Okay, that's my other rifle. That's my other rifle. Let's get to. This is the first group I shot with it. You know, there's about 2 inches, 2.5 inches. And I thought, well, that's not very good. That's, I don't know, kind of how it shot. There's another big group. This group right here, so if you discount this guy and this guy, we're looking at about 2 inches right along the middle there. This is at 100 yards. But then we have ones like this, where we've got these flyers. Ugh. I'm not pulling these shots. I did this off sandbags, nice, slow squeeze trigger pulls on these. And there's still these ugly, and I've seen these elsewhere on the internet as well, these ugly flyers that this rifle has. So I'm willing to bet that this has something to do with maybe movement around the stock, or maybe pressure points between the stock and the action. So I'm kind of curious to see what this rifle will do with the Boyd stock on it. There is a decent clustering in here. I would rather have seen like 1.5 inches, you know, out of this rifle. Seeing this 2-inch group here, and this solid 2-inch group kind of tells me that this is a 2-inch rifle, and that's not fantastic, because you're shooting small animals. This is a varmint round, and it's, you know, for the distance extra that you're going to get with 22 WSM over 17 HMR, or sorry, 17 WSM over a 17 HMR. You need that accuracy. I need 1 inch to shoot gophers at 100 yards. I need my rifles to be shooting into that inch, and I'm not really getting it with this one. You know, whereas, you know, with my Savage 17 HMR, I am getting about 1 inch. There's about 1 inch. That's you know, 6 rounds into about 1 inch. Can't complain too much about that. This, not doing it for me yet. But you know what? Let's wait and see. Again, this is the first 50 rounds I put through this rifle. Maybe that's not fair. We will throw a, my buddy is going to throw a Boyd stock on here, which will stiffen that stock quite a bit. Maybe that'll help things. Maybe we're pillar bedded or something. We'll give it as much benefit of the doubt, because the promise is you get to use faster ammo for the same price. And it's available. Fast, available ammo at the same price as 17 HMR. So the promise is there. The barrel seems good. The bolt is kind of junky, but maybe we'll overlook it once we got it in a nicer stock. The mag is kind of cool. I like the 8 rounds. I like how it inserts without any rocking or anything. It's just a straight insert in there. And the trigger is fantastic. So this thing does have some promise, and I'd love to see it kind of blossom if we get it